Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. This is the Movie News Show, getting you caught up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news, giving you a little bit of context into what it all means. And, of course, we just want to make sure that when you talk to your friends about the movies, you know more about what's going on than anybody else. And I'm going to let you guys know right now, it's going to be a little bit of a short show today. I got to cut it at 9:30 this morning because I got to get to got to cut it at 9 o'clock this morning because I got to get to a Deadpool screening. And yes, my Deadpool 2 review will be up tonight. So we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today, but let's first go right off the top and let's talk a little bit of Gotham. It was just announced that Gotham Season 5 is happening. There was some question about whether or not Season 5 was going to happen, but it did get renewed for Season 5 with a little bit of an asterisk. Season 5 will be the final season of Gotham. And, you know, I'm a little bit mixed on Gotham, to be quite honest with you. A little bit mixed, because on the one hand, I've loved everything with the Jim Gordon stuff. When this show focused on Jim Gordon, just this cop in this dirty city trying to clean the city, and you get some hints and inferences to all the Batman universe as well, that's when this show worked best for me. When the show didn't work for me was when they tried to make it a Batman show without Batman. Like when it was a Jim Gordon show in Gotham, that show really worked. When it was a Batman show without Batman, it didn't really work. And when they're trying to do all this stuff with young Bruce Wayne and, oh, look, now he's wearing the mask, it's like, come on, this just feels desperate. So I'm ready for this show to end. It was a little bit of a hit and miss show for me along the way. Maybe a little bit more hit than miss. It certainly picked up in certain places and then got a little weak in others. But I know there are going to be some people really disappointed that it's going. Some people, the general feeling I'm getting from a lot of people, though, is that, yeah, it's kind of time. Also off the top here, speaking of some television stuff, Netflix, of course, Lost in Space made its debut not long ago. You can find my review for Lost in Space up there. And it was just announced that Lost in Space was renewed for season 2 on Netflix. Now, I'm actually good with this news. I like this. Even though I did not love season 1, if you watch my review for it, I think they have a lot of potential in there. The core family is great. All the characters of the core family, very weak villain. I did not like the Dr. Smith character whatsoever. Everything felt like they were just scratching the surface, so it felt a little thin. But I did say, it does make me intrigued for what they can do with the season 2 if they pick it up and improve on the weaknesses of season 1. If they do that, you could have a really special show here. So yeah, even though I didn't love season 1 of Lost in Space, I gotta say I'm on board with them doing a season 2. I really am. All right, now we got the major significant movie news. Let's get to that in a little segment we call the Movie News Feed. First up, Avengers Infinity War continues its box office dominance as it has just taken the #1 spot at the weekend box office for a third weekend in a row. That, combined with its worldwide take, now puts Infinity War as the all-time #1 comic book movie at the box office. The previous record holder was the original Avengers film that took in over $1.5 billion at the box office, and Infinity War now sits with just over $1.6 billion, and it's still rolling. The third biggest comic book film of all time is now Avengers Age of Ultron at $1.4 billion. The fourth biggest is Black Panther at $1.3 billion. And the fifth biggest comic book film of all time is Iron Man 3 at $1.2 billion. So it continues to be a clean sweep for Marvel atop the comic book worldwide box office total things, all top 5 spots held by MCU films. Now let's look at Infinity War here for a second. At $1.6 billion, Infinity War is now entering the last little leg of its freebie ride, because up until now it really hasn't had any competition. And of course, this weekend coming up is the release of Deadpool 2 when it's going to run into its first really stiff competition. So the race to $2 billion is now on. The film only has $400 million more to go, but of course, it's already done most of its business. Can it get there? I believe the answer to that question is a resounding yes. I do believe it can get to $2 billion. I even believe it can overtake Star Wars The Force Awakens that sits at $2.066 billion. I think it can overtake that for the #3 all-time spot. Now, The question becomes, can it catch Titanic? Titanic sits at just over 2.1 billion. That's going to be the question. And again, as we said all along, there's no way in hell it's going to catch Avatar at this point. It's just lost too much of its momentum at this point. But the 2 billion finish line is in sight, and it looks like it's going to cross it, and even looks like it's going to cross Star Wars The Force Awakens to take the number 3 all-time spot. Next up, as many of you are aware, the fate of the third season for the popular show Lethal Weapon has been up in the air after the network fired one of the main stars of the show, Clayne Crawford, last week for poor behavior. However, it looks like the show has been saved and renewed for season 3 after the producers hired veteran comedy actor Seann William Scott to take over the role of Riggs in the show. Michael Thorne, president of entertainment for Fox Broadcasting Company, said the following: "Seann is a fantastic addition to this already amazing cast. Lethal Weapon is packed with action, drama, and pure fun, and we can't wait to see Damon Wayans and Seann together on screen. Matt Miller, his incredible team, and everyone at Warner Brothers have been tremendous partners, and we're thrilled to bring this show back for a third season." Seann William Scott, of course, is best known for his work in things like the American Pie movies, the hockey enforcer movie Goon, his comedy with Paul Rudd, Role Models, and of course, many others. Lethal Weapon is one of those films that a lot of you guys have been telling me to watch. I've still never seen an episode, and I haven't avoided it because it looks bad or anything. I just don't have a lot of time to watch TV, so I've never watched it. But a lot of you guys have been saying, watch this show. Now, with them losing their lead, of course, Damon Wayans is still there, losing their lead, that threw a lot of stuff up in the air, made them question whether they were even going to come back for season 3. I got to tell you what, now, take this with a grain of salt because I'm a guy who's never seen the show. But the addition of Seann William Scott, I think it's great. If I'm trying to think of a slightly younger version and a TV version of the Riggs character, I think Seann William Scott could totally fill that role. You know, whether he's in any of those other films that we mentioned, or what's the one he did with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, The Rundown, I think it's that, he's always delightful. Like, I always watch, even when he's in crappy movies like Dude, Where's My Car? Or something like that, he always brings something special to the screen. He brings a charisma to the screen that not a lot of other people do. Now, I can't say whether he's going to be an improvement over the last actor because, again, I've never seen the show before. However, on its surface, as an outsider, to me it seems like if you're a fan of this Lethal Weapon show, it seems like you should be pretty happy, not only because it got renewed for a third season, but I think Seann William Scott is going to be a nice addition to the show. Let's see what kind of chemistry he brings with Damon Wayans. I think it's going to be pretty good. Next up, the upcoming all-female spy thriller film 355 has been in the news a lot lately, and now it's in the news again. From IndieWire, the cameras haven't even started rolling on the Simon Kinberg-directed film 355, but it's arguably one of the biggest movie of cons of 2018. Universal Pictures has purchased the U.S. rights to the movie in an estimated $20 million deal, making it one of the bigger purchases in Cannes history at the market. The star-studded film features Jessica Chastain, Lupita Nyong'o, Fan Bingbing, Marion Cotillard, and Penelope Cruz. The movie is based on a story from Jessica Chastain herself about a group of female spies from around the world who team up for a mission vital to the security of the world. Look, I think there's a lot to be excited about this 355 movie. Number one, it sounds like a cool spy thriller. That's great. Number two, look at the talent involved, being led by Jessica Chastain, who I believe is one of the best actresses in the world right now. Plus, you got a couple of other Academy Award winners in that cast as well. That looks great. Now, the one thing right now that is holding me back from being like ecstatic about this movie right now is that Simon Kinberg's directing. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that's a negative thing, not at all, but we've never seen Simon Kinberg direct anything. His first directorial effort is, of course, X-Men, the Dark Phoenix film that they've got coming out next year. Now, once we see that, we'll get a little bit of a gauge of what kind of a director is Simon Kinberg, because right now we have no idea. We know he can write tremendously when he's on his A game. We know he can produce a really good movie when he's on his A game. Can he do the same thing as a director? Right now, we simply don't know. It was inevitable that a film like this, with the talent attached to it and the kind of film that it was going to pick up distribution. It's kind of cool seeing Universal win that bidding war. But once we see X-Men, we'll know just how excited we can be for it. Until then, I'm going to keep my enthusiasm just a little bit reserved, but still a little bit excited. Next, It looks like everyone's favorite silent ninja in black may be getting his own movie, as it's being reported that Paramount Pictures has begun the development process on a standalone Snake Eyes movie. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Evan Spiliotopoulos, the writer of 2017's Beauty and the Beast and The Huntsman Winter's War, is in talks to pen the script. From everything we gather so far, this would be a new incarnation of the popular G.I. Joe character and not a spin-off or continuation of the previous two G.I. Joe films, which, by the way, made a combined $600 million at the worldwide box office. And even though this isn't a spin-off or a continuation, Snake Eyes wears a mask the whole time. There's nothing preventing Ray Park from coming back, of course, who played Darth Maul, and he played the Headless Horseman, and of course he played Snake Eyes in the other G.I. Joe films. Since the face is covered, even if this is a total reboot and a reincarnation, nothing is preventing them from bringing back Ray Park to play the role. I think that would be great. Now, here's the thing. Much like in the last story, there's a little bit holding back my excitement. The thing that's holding back my excitement just a little bit right here is, really? The screenwriter for Winter's War? But I don't know, the Beauty and the Beast thing is a good thing too. So look, I think it's great. I think they had to do something with G.I. Joe. Like, a lot of people wondering, what are you going to do with this franchise? It wasn't a huge blockbuster, but at the same time, two movies combining for over $600 million, that's not bad. It's something you need to investigate and look into. I think taking a little bit of a different approach with a standalone movie with one of the prime, most popular characters being Snake Eyes, I think it's a nice move. I think this is a really good move by Paramount. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this if it ever gets greenlit. And finally, Avengers and overall MCU star Captain America himself, Chris Evans, has been set to lead the upcoming disaster thriller film titled Greenland, the latest from District 9 director Neill Blomkamp. Greenland follows the story of a family's fight for survival in the face of a cataclysmic natural disaster. Neill Blomkamp has been working for a number of years on a possible new Aliens franchise, but that film had the plug pulled by Fox Studios. Let's see if he can get this one actually going. Neill Blomkamp has been a bit of an enigma for me because, like everybody else, I completely adored District 9. District 9 was great. Unfortunately, his follow-up film Elysium, which a lot of us were looking forward to, I thought really disappointed. And then his film after that, Chappie, I thought was a bag of crap, unfortunately, too. But that doesn't mean, hey, just because he's had two bad films in a row, doesn't mean anything. And maybe some people like those films. Who knows? All films subjective. But it is going to be interesting to see him take another swing at the bat. And something like this, Greenland, sounds great. Now, the addition of Chris Evans is fantastic. Now, before anybody out there starts going, Chris Evans is doing another movie, that definitely means Captain America is dying in Avengers 4. Don't worry, a lot of these actors do 3 or 4 different movies a year, so that doesn't really mean anything. However, overall, it's good to see Neill Blomkamp get back on the horse again. Film like this, kind of a natural disaster film with Chris Evans, that sounds great. Sign me up, I'm all for it. And that'll do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed. And now you are all caught up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news. Now let's get to some of the main topics here. Of course, the main topics are submitted by you guys. How do you submit a topic or question to be on the John Campea Show? It's really simple. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. Let's get to the first email today. And the first email today comes to us from Aussie Samurai. I love that name. Who writes, as one of those lucky ones to have already seen Solo, would you like to see a Lando-centric movie featuring Han and Chewy? Thanks a lot. Yeah, so I did have a chance to go see Solo the other night. I had a tremendous amount of fun with it. I think a lot of people are going to have a very good time with this movie. Okay, that aside. After seeing it, and after seeing Donald Glover play the role of Lando, could I possibly see him leading a Lando-centric movie? Answer that question, hell yes. Hell yes. I could totally see it. I wouldn't have thought that going into the movie. Like, I would have thought, look, you don't do a spin-off character of a spin-off character. Like, Lando is a great character, sure, but he's great as a supporting character to Han. Watching Donald Glover completely channel his inner Billy D. Williams and really take what Billy D. did. He did exactly what we were supposed to do. Take what the first actor did, stand on that actor's shoulders, and try to take the character to the next step. And that's what Donald Glover did. Completely staying faithful to the Billy D. Williams Lando, and he put his own spin on it as well. And you know what? After watching this character in the movie, now you all might have your own different opinions once you see the film. For me, having seen it just once, I can go, yeah, I've changed my mind. I could totally see a Donald Glover-led Lando adventure movie. I could totally watch that. I would be down for it. I never would have thought that before, but after watching this, I would be down for it. Now, I would rather see new movies with new characters and new adventures and all that kind of stuff. Yes. However, if they came out and said they were going to do a Lando movie with Donald Glover, I'd be, yeah, I got to admit, I'm down to seeing that. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Shawn Smith, who writes, the television market is flooded, leading to volatile schedules and very little in the way of guarantees of renewal. That's true. Lucifer has not only been canceled, but according to the showrunner Joe Henderson, they created a season finale with a huge cliffhanger that's going to frustrate the hell out of fans. Should shows stop ending seasons with cliffhangers? Is the cliffhanger even an effective tool any longer? Yeah, so I'm not a drinker, but if I was a drinker, I'd be drinking, because they canceled one of my favorite shows on television, Lucifer. Breaks my heart that more of you guys didn't watch this. This show was great, and this dude, Tom Ellis, as the lead character of Satan, Lucifer himself, is my Lucifer is my favorite show on TV. It's one of my favorite shows, but Lucifer, the character played by Tom Ellis, my absolute favorite character on television. I wish more of you guys watched it, but anyway, they just canceled it. So yeah, they did reveal tonight is now the season finale, also the series finale, apparently, and they ended it with a cliffhanger. First of all, should shows use cliffhangers? I believe yes. Cliffhangers can be effective tools if used right. Like, if you're doing a season, end the season. If you're going to use a cliffhanger, make it a cliffhanger that leads into a new story. That's great. But don't not complete your season. You know what I mean? So, for instance, Lucifer has this ongoing storyline this season that includes the character of Cain. You better wrap up that story and then have a cliffhanger that leads into something else. So as long as you use cliffhangers that way, I believe they're effective. But what are you supposed to do if you're a TV producer? You need to act business as usual. You don't write your shows as if your show's about to end. You write your shows as if it's an ongoing story. So yeah, it's unfortunate that that means some shows will end on a cliffhanger that we'll never get to pick up, but I still believe ultimately it's the right thing to do if you use the cliffhangers well. And by the way, guys, hashtag save Lucifer. Tweet that out. Get some network to pick up this show. Its ratings aren't all that bad, so get somebody to pick this show up. It absolutely needs to continue. All right, let's move on to the final email of the day. And the final email today comes to us from Patreon supporter Kevin Ward, who writes, it's becoming kind of popular to rag on MoviePass for their shady business practices. Well, because they have shady business practices. Anyway, but as movie fans, shouldn't we really be rooting for them? Movie attendance has hit a 25-year lows and average movie ticket prices just hit a new all-time high. I get that curbing rising ticket prices isn't really MoviePass's motivation, but don't we as movie fans need to be rooting for somebody to disrupt the industry? All right, here's the thing about the MoviePass stuff. And by the way, there's a viable alternative to MoviePass. It's another card called Cinemia. I use them both. I'm a bigger fan of Cinemia, plus they don't have shady business practices, but we'll get to that in a minute. Shouldn't we be cheering for MoviePass? Well, I would say this. We should be cheering for something like MoviePass. Something in the industry that financially works and makes it less expensive for the consumer. If you can do that, wonderful. However, you have to do it the right way. Because let's say the cost of milk is too much. Shouldn't we be cheering for something that lowers the cost of milk? Sure, unless their way of lowering the cost of milk is to send armed gunmen into the store and put a gun to the head of the store owners, forcing them to lower the price of milk. No, that is not something we should cheer for. Yes, it lowers the price of milk, but this isn't going to work out for people. This is a volatile situation you just created, and we shouldn't be cheering for that. Look, I'm not saying MoviePass is a bunch of armed gunmen putting guns to people's heads. That's not what I'm saying. But just because the goal is to lower ticket prices, that doesn't mean anything goes then to make sure it happens, right? The difference between like a Cinemia and a MoviePass is that Cinemia has set up their business model in such a way to make it cheaper for people who go to movies frequently to see more movies, while at the same time charging enough and having a business model that can sustain itself and actually be profitable. MoviePass has gone a completely different direction. They've completely lowballed their costs to a point that they can never be financially successful and they can never be financially sustainable, in the hopes that their plan is not to be self-sustaining. Their plan is to get as many subscribers as possible and then use those subscribers as a weapon and as leverage to blackmail movie theater chains and movie studios into giving them a cut of their concession stand prices and movie ticket sales. The difference in models is Cinemia's model is to be self-sustaining. Charge enough that it still lowers prices for people and becomes a convenience for people while also being sustainable. MoviePass's model seems to be, let's just get people sign up and then use those people as blackmail leverage and try to force movie studios and try to force movie theater chains into playing ball with us. One is sustainable, one is not. One is shady, one is not. So to me, should we be cheering for something like MoviePass? Yes, we should. But that doesn't mean anything goes and by any means necessary, because like I said, MoviePass's, their model is just not sustainable. And we're seeing that happen. We're seeing that playing itself out now. I don't think MoviePass is going to be a real thing a few months from now. Maybe 4 months from now, I don't think it's going to be around anymore. So maybe I'll be right, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe they'll change their business model, make it more sustainable, whatever. So we should be cheering for something like that, just not the particular way they're going about it. Anyway, that's just the way I see it. All right, guys, that will do it for the email segment today. I've got about 7 minutes left. Like I said, I got to cut today's show a little bit short because I got to get to a Deadpool 2 screening, and it's all the way across town, so I can't be late for that. But we got a few minutes here. Let's take a couple of live questions that you guys have sent in. First live question today comes to me from Ben Rayner, who writes, saw Infinity War for the third time. Noticed the new Marvel Studios logo with the number 10 in place of IO, not sure what that means. The IO in studio. Love that respect for 10 years of MCU movies. Well, I wouldn't give them too much credit for the respect because they're paying respect to themselves. Hey, I'm really great. So, but it's a nice little acknowledgement of the 10 years. It's a nice little thing for sure. But it's not like they're paying respect to somebody else. They're paying respect to themselves. They're giving themselves a pat on the back, which I guess you're allowed to do every once in a while. Santos, Andujar writes, can Infinity War catch Black Panther's domestic box office? Thanks. Well, like a lot of people, 1.3 billion is what Black Panther has made worldwide. And that's an impressive number, and we all focus on that. It's made just like $2 or $3 million short of $700 million just in North America alone. It's crazy. Can Infinity War catch that? Now I forget the exact number. I think Infinity War is sitting around 500 million. I think right now domestically. Domestically, she's got 547 million. It can catch Black Panther, but it will be a little tight. Because remember now, it's no more free pass. It's no more free ride for Infinity War now. We've got real competition opening up against it now with Deadpool this weekend, Solo the following weekend. Can it make another 160 million at the domestic box office? It can. It can. It will be a little snug. It'll be a little tight. It'll definitely not catch Star Wars The Force Awakens, which is over $900 million it made domestically. But it can catch Black Panther, but it's certainly no guarantee at this point, like not by a long shot. All right, next one up. I'm going to just try to fly through these guys to get through as many as possible here. Let's see. Symptomatic Fiend, I like that name, writes, who is the worst actor/actress with an Oscar? Well, there's no such thing as a bad actor with an Oscar. There is just no bad actor with an Oscar. And I would have to sit down and think about it. So I don't know, off the top of my head, maybe Cuba Gooding Jr. I don't know. And he's a really good actor. He's a really good actor. But again, I'd have to think about that. That's just off the top of my head. Ben Rayner writes, over under 40%, we see Batman in the final shot of Gotham. I'll take the under on that, but I wouldn't go like 10%. I wouldn't go like 11%. I I believe there's a pretty decent chance it happens, but at 40%, I'll take the under on that. Not to mention, he's still like, what is he, 16 in this show, 17? Hudson Smith writes, thanks, John, you make school bearable. Well, I'm glad I can be there with you, Hudson. Thanks for sharing that. Ronnie J. Royster writes, hey, John, what are your top 3 favorite cinematic universes? Mine are MCU, the Monster vs. DC. I don't like taking what's your top 3, what's your top 5, stuff like that. Generally speaking, my favorite cinematic universe is Star Wars, then maybe the MCU, and then, I don't know, I'd have to think about it. But generally speaking, I don't like taking what's your top 5 or what's your top 3 questions. Rami J. Royster follows up, what are your thoughts on Sony's Marvel Universe? I think it's nothing but a cash grab, even though I love what they are doing with this Venom in October. I got a news flash for you, Rami. The MCU is a cash grab. I got news for you. The DCEU is a cash grab. I got news for you. The Mission Impossible films are a cash grab. I got more news for you. The Star Wars movies are a cash grab. Make no mistake about it, and don't delude yourself. Every single movie that a studio puts out, they put it out to make money. It's all a cash grab. It always drives me a little bit crazy when I hear some people saying, oh, that movie's a cash grab. Guess what? Every movie. Don't you be so naive. None of you, do not be so naive to not know that Avengers Infinity War is a cash grab. It's all a cash grab. Of course it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a business. These studios are in this business to make money. Therefore, that means they make movies to make money. It's all a cash grab. The question is, can they do them good enough to make money and to get that cash grab? Because the better you make it, the more money you'll make. But John, Transformers movies suck and they make lots of money. Yeah, but they would make more money if they were good. Can you imagine how much money those Transformers movies would make? Can you imagine? We'd be talking MCU, Star Wars level stuff. If the Transformers movies were high quality, if all of them were high quality, it's almost inconceivable how much money those movies would be making. Yeah, they made great movies. They made great amount of money, I should say, as crappy movies. But can you even begin to imagine if each movie was fantastic and their box office just kept going up and up and up and up? It's ridiculous to think about. So is the Sony Marvelverse a cash grab? Hell yeah, it is. And so is the MCU, and so is the DCEU, and so is Star Wars, and so is Mission Impossible, and so is Jurassic World, and so is every other film that you love. It's all a cash grab because it's a business and they're not in business to lose money and they're not in business to break even. They're in business to try to make money. So yeah, it's a cash grab. Just a couple minutes left here. Gabriel Mengesha writes, can't wait for Rocket to meet an actual raccoon. Yeah, because he's on Earth now, right? Oh, that might be a bit of a spoiler, but whatever. Yes, I think that'll be great. Then he'll understand what everybody's talking about. That would be funny. Franklin Donahue writes, John, what have you heard about the new Halloween movie? I read that the test audience hates it. Never, ever, ever, ever believe anything about test audiences saw it and loved it. And never believe anything about test audience saw it and they hated it. Never believe them. Never, ever, ever believe those stories. They're all bullshit. Never believe it. ZCM Zombie Custom Maps writes, who'd win, Dominic Toretto or Mr. Miyagi? Oh, you may have just come up with the one guy in the movie universe who could beat Dominic Toretto in a fight. Because Steppenwolf, no problem. Superman, bah. Thor, no, or Thanos, no problem to Dominic Toretto. Mr. Miyagi might be the one guy that gives him a hard time. ZCM writes, have you seen Los Angeles Overnight? No, I have not, but I got invited. It's a small indie film. I got it, if I'm thinking of the right one, I got invited to a screening of it like a month ago, and I never got around to going to it, but it looked intriguing, but no, I haven't seen it. Rami writes, what's better experience, Dolby, IMAX, or 4DX? Well, as I've mentioned before, I've never actually had the privilege of going to a 4DX cinema. I don't really have one right around me. Between Dolby and IMAX, my personal thing is AMC Prime Dolby. That's my personal preference. I think it's a better experience myself personally, but your mileage may vary. You may prefer IMAX or whatever. And again, I can't speak to the 4DX thing because I've never done it. All right, last question. And guys, the rest of them that I don't get around to, I will put in the next companion video. Don't worry, if you send in a question, it will be put in the next companion video. Last question. Surprise my Star Wars loving mother to tickets to see Solo opening night. That's so great. I wish I could do it. My mom, hi mom. My mom watches all my shows. My Christmas tradition is when I go home for Christmas is our new tradition is I take my parents to go see the new Star Wars movie. It's a great tradition because my mom introduced me to Star Wars. Anyway, so good on you for doing that. Surprised my mother to tickets to see Solo opening night. She prefers the original trilogy, but is there enough in Solo she will enjoy? Yes. I guarantee your mom's going to enjoy this movie. I absolutely guarantee that. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Normally we go a few minutes longer, but like I said, I got to get to a Deadpool screening. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, click subscribe, become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. We do the John Campea Show every day, Monday through Friday. Make sure you come back this afternoon. We got open mic where it's nothing but all open forum discussion. And of course, a little bit later today, I got my Deadpool 2 review coming. And guys, by the way, I put up part 1 of my interview with Erin Cummings. You may not recognize the name, but you have seen about 20 of the shows that she's been in and a bunch of the movies she's been in. And she tells the best stories. She is so fun and engaging. It's probably one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. It's now up on my YouTube channel. Go check it out. Everybody who's watching it is loving it. All the comments on it have been great. Go check out this interview. You'll watch the first 5 minutes of it and you won't be able to stop watching. So go check that out. All right, guys, that'll do it for me today. Thanks so much, guys. You have honored me with your presence. Thank you so much. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.